This next cojones goes to a man who's dear to my heart for standing up for stand-up. When dozens of Netflix employees walked out over Dave Chappelle's reckless decision to perform comedy on his comedy special. CEO Ted Sarandos could have pulled the special and replaced it with more episodes of Who Wants to Watch Koreans Get Killed? But instead, he reminded his Netflix employees that comedy exists to push boundaries and told them if you'd find it hard to support our content breadth, Netflix may not be the best place for you. So, for making the phrase, "Don't let the door hit you in the ass" never sound better, this is for you, Tim.
You know, these days it feels like saying the wrong thing, or even cracking the wrong joke, can get you burned faster than a viral Twitter pile-on. And that's exactly the point Bill Maher's been driving home lately. Whether you like him or not, the guy's built his whole career on calling out hypocrisy, especially the kind wrapped in hashtags and fake outrage. This time, his sights are set on the self-proclaimed moral police, Hollywood's woke, elite, online outrage mobs, and college kids who've turned being offended into a personality. But here's the twist. Maher's not just talking about it anymore. He's fed up with Hollywood's phony resistance, endless virtue signaling, and the cancel culture witch hunts. So instead of another rant, he's got a new idea: an award show. Not for the usual Hollywood darlings who get Oscars for weeping on cue or Golden Globes for pretending to care about climate change on the red carpet. No, this one's for the rare few who actually pushed back against the mob, the ones who didn't delete their tweets, didn't grovel for forgiveness, and didn't cave just to stay in the spotlight.
What was the point of the evening? How do we take a stand against cancel culture? And I suggested, since we were mostly all in show business, that we start an award show to honor the brave people who have fought back. Well, I gotta tell you, the idea was met with great enthusiasm by everyone, and in short order, different people were suggesting the ways that their varied talents could be put to use. And then, of course, being Hollywood, nothing happened. But it's still a good idea, so I'm gonna do it right here, right now, and not only that, we're gonna do it every year.
Sounds wild, right? But really, think about it. Isn't that exactly what's missing today? Real courage, real backbone. Not the kind that gets you a round of applause at some Vanity Fair after party, but the kind that earns genuine respect. Take J.K. Rowling, for example. Here's a woman who created a global phenomenon, sold millions of books, built a billion-dollar franchise, and inspired an entire generation to fall in love with reading. And yet, what's her reward? She's now public enemy number one to the woke mob. Why? Because she dared to suggest that maybe, just maybe, being a woman involves more than makeup and pronouns. The horror, right? Suddenly, the same people who once worshipped Harry Potter decided the author herself was a villain. Cancel her. Burn the books. Erase her from existence. It's like watching a modern-day witch hunt unfold, only now the pitchforks are tweets and the flames are fueled by hashtags and outrage articles.
There's no getting around the fact that what was on the mind of the liberals that night in Brentwood, or wherever we may have been, was that the most powerful witch hunters now were coming from Twitter, the Ivy League, and the progressive left. J.K. Rowling used to be a villain to the right because she wrote books about witchcraft. Now she's a villain to the left because she has the crazy belief that there's more to being a woman than pronouns and lipstick.
And Rowling isn't the only one. Elon Musk used to be Silicon Valley's golden boy, the visionary set to save the world with electric cars and rockets. But the moment he said something that didn't fit the progressive script, suddenly he was the villain. The same thing happened with Joe Rogan. He was once the edgy, cool podcaster progressives admired, until he asked the wrong questions, and overnight, he was branded a dangerous source of misinformation. And then there's Bill Maher. For decades, he was a liberal firebrand, but now he's considered too problematic by the same crowd that used to applaud him. What's the common thread here? Loyalty, or rather, conditional loyalty. As long as you toe the line, you're safe. Step out of it, and you're done. That's the harsh truth of cancel culture. It doesn't care about your past, your contributions, or your intentions. Make one misstep, and you're erased. So Maher decided he'd had enough. He wanted to start recognizing people who actually show some backbone. The first award he gives? To Martha Pollack, president of Cornell University. And if you've been following what's happening on college campuses, you know why that's significant. Many have turned into glorified daycare centers for adults, places where students demand trigger warnings before lectures, as if the very environment meant to challenge their thinking has somehow become too dangerous for ideas.
This award goes to the president of my alma mater, Cornell University, Martha Pollack. This month, students there demanded trigger warnings before all the lectures in case any of the adult subjects you specifically went to college to learn about came up. And Martha said, yeah, no, we're not doing that. She didn't cave in or hire a new dean of sensitivity. She just said, no, college is for introducing you to new ideas, not for kissing your and making you feel wonderful and always.
Imagine that, paying $70,000 a year just to be protected from discomfort. But Martha Pollack wasn't buying it. When students demanded trigger warnings, she stood her ground and said no. No new dean of sensitivity, no safe space for every slightly uncomfortable idea, just no. College, she reminded them, is a place to learn, not to be coddled. And honestly, that single word, no, took more courage than half the acceptance speeches we've heard out of Hollywood in the past 10 years.
Taking a brunch with your parents. I'm just amazed at how this generation can simultaneously be too sensitive for anything distasteful and somehow also so into eating.
And Maher absolutely nails it. If more universities showed that kind of backbone, we'd be shaping real leaders, not fragile ideologues who crumble at the first sign of disagreement. Think about it, this generation loves to call itself edgy, liberated, unapologetically bold. They'll post the most outrageous, even degrading stuff on TikTok just for clicks. But the moment someone says something that doesn't match their script, boom, outrage, tears, and calls for cancellation. How do you even make sense of that? Next up, Trader Joe's. And this one's honestly hilarious. For years, the store sold quirky items with playful names like Trader Jose's for their beer, and no one batted an eye. Nobody was offended. Then one teenager on Twitter suddenly declares, that's racist. Within hours, there's a petition, a social media pile-on, and the mob is primed for action. Everyone expects Trader Joe's to cave, issue a groveling apology, and maybe rebrand it as beverage from an unspecified region.
The next award goes to the place where many Cornell grads will be working next year, Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's, who for years have been selling a line of ethnically themed products, trading on the name Joe. For example, they have Trader Jose's beer. So, of course, one teenager on Twitter heard the word Jose and said it was racist, and then there was a petition, and then Trader Joe's management did the right thing. They burnt down all their stores and killed themselves. No, they didn't. They said, F off, you oversensitive little sh.
But Trader Joe's didn't take the bait. They stood their ground and told the mob, no, these labels aren't racist, and we're not changing them. We don't make business decisions based on online petitions. And you know what happened? Absolutely nothing. Customers kept shopping, the brand stayed strong, and the so-called outrage burned out in about 48 hours before everyone moved on to the next thing.
A life and a sense of humor and released this statement. We disagree that any of these labels are racist, and we do not make decisions based on petitions. You see how easy it is? So to the home of the 19-cent banana, here, have some nuts.
And that right there is the real takeaway. Cancel culture only has as much power as you give it. If you stand firm for a few days, their outrage dies off, because by then, they've already found the next target to yell about. That's exactly what Maher's been saying all along. Stop apologizing, stop groveling, and stop letting people use fake outrage as a weapon to control you. Because here's the truth, the mob doesn't actually want an apology. They want submission. And once you give in, they'll never stop asking for more. But Maher didn't stop at calling out universities or grocery stores. He turned his sights on Hollywood itself, and let's be honest, that's ground zero for virtue signaling. This is the same group of celebrities who swore they'd leave the country if Trump ever became president. Remember that? Miley Cyrus, George Lopez, Eddie Griffin, all promising to pack up and go. Yet 4 years of Trump came and went, and where are they now? Still here. Still sipping champagne in Beverly Hills, still strutting down red carpets, still cashing their checks. Not a single moving truck in sight.
Just like there's a long list of liberal celebrities who swear they'll go if a Republican is elected, and no one ever does. Miley Cyrus once said, "I am moving if Trump is my president. I don't say things I don't mean." Here she is looking miserable, having to endure America at the Grammys last Sunday. I guess she flew back from Tajikistan.
It's all just performance, empty words for attention. Hollywood loves to preach about courage, resistance, and moral conviction. But the moment their careers or paychecks are at risk, those convictions disappear. These aren't thought leaders, they're performers. Their moral compass spins toward whoever's clapping the loudest. And Maher nailed that point with the perfect example, comedy. Comedy has always thrived on crossing lines and testing limits. It's meant to make people uncomfortable. That's the whole point.
In 2016, Eddie Griffin said, "If Trump wins, I'm moving to Africa." Apparently very slowly, because in Trump's 4 years, he only got as far as Van Nuys. George Lopez once said that if Trump won, he won't have to worry about immigration. We'll all go back. George Lopez still here.
Dave Chappelle, Kevin Hart, Joe Rogan, even Rob Schneider, comedians who told the wrong joke and were suddenly treated like criminals. Yet comedy remains one of the last places where truth can still slip through. Because behind almost every offensive joke, there's usually a truth that people are just too afraid to say out loud.
This next cojones goes to a man who's dear to my heart for standing up for stand-up. When dozens of Netflix employees walked out over Dave Chappelle's reckless decision to perform comedy on his comedy special. CEO Ted Sarandos could have pulled the special and replaced it with more episodes of Who Wants to Watch Koreans Get Killed. But instead, he reminded his Netflix employees that comedy exists to push boundaries and told them if you'd find it hard to support our content breadth, Netflix may not be the best place for you. So, for making the phrase, "Don't let the door hit you in the never sound better," this is for...
Maher brought up Ben Stiller and his film Tropic Thunder, a movie that's been under fire from critics for years. And what was Stiller's response? "I make no apologies. I'm proud of it. That's it." And guess what? His career didn't end. He's still booking roles, still doing commercials, still thriving. Because, in the end, the mob is only as powerful as you allow it to be.
When movie lovers get together these days, one phrase that comes up a lot and always makes me sad is, "Yeah, you couldn't make that one today." Top of that list is the great Tropic Thunder, which the scolds have been after for years. But in February, Ben Stiller tweeted, "I make no apologies for Tropic Thunder. It's always been a controversial movie since when we opened, proud of it and the work everyone did on it." See, people, it's not that hard. He said it, and he still got a commercial. And the lesson is, if you stand up to the mob for just a day or two, their shallow, impatient, immature, smartphone-driven, gerbil minds will forget about it and go on to the next nothing burger, and you still will have your cojones.
And that's Maher's core message. Cancel culture is all smoke and mirrors, a loud, angry storm that usually passes in a day or two. If you have the courage to stand your ground, you'll be fine. But if you fold, bow down, or apologize for things that don't even require an apology, that's when you really lose. When Maher roasted Hollywood, it wasn't just for laughs, it was a reality check. Stop treating celebrities like moral authorities. Stop giving cancel culture power it doesn't actually have. Look at Martha Pollock. Look at Trader Joe's. Look at Ben Stiller. Standing firm works. Courage pays off. And if there's one thing we need right now, it's more people willing to stop bowing and start standing. Because here's the truth, defiance isn't dangerous, it's necessary. Without it, we lose comedy, free thought, and even common sense. So what do you think? Is Maher right that cancel culture only has as much power as we give it, or do you think the mob can really destroy careers? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm curious to hear your take. And if you liked this breakdown, hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who still thinks Trader Joe's is racist for selling Trader Joe's. Because if there's one thing cancel culture hates, it's people who aren't afraid of it anymore.